Ahoy, my friends and family and enemies! My name is Trey Smith, and this is my show, Trey's Timeless Now. And today, I'm going to discuss the uber painful topic of channeling the New Cage movement and how I failed, like Zach Bush in reverse. Will be the second video. You know, Mark Passio calls it the last cul-de-sac before enlightenment. What is channeling? Baby, you got to know it. 96% or more of the worldviews of humans are controlled by Lucifer's tricks. Well, baby, you gotta overstand it. How to wake up from this inverted world that's sick. I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, in higher D, I will never be misunderstood. Life has its problems, and I've had my share. I didn't mean to take it out on you. I don't pass judgments on anyone, but you know that I care. Now, the grown-up and baby spirits, whether you're mature or full of fear and Lucifer's crap, you gotta know it. To wake up from the matrix, your soul has to stop bypassing in that nap. I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. In the higher D, I will never be misunderstood. Channeling the New Cage movement and how I've failed like Zach Bush in reverse. It's going to be the second video, I think. Shamanic Self is the name of a channel with this hot-looking woman that grew up in Germany and moved to New York. And, you know, she goes into the names. I bring her up because she goes into the names, and I'm not trying to talk about any names. Okay, let go. And so I'm not trying to start fights with anyone here, but okay. And so what is channeling anyway? Well, unfortunately, what a lot of normal folks that might fear the devil would think is what often the case. They'll do traditionally a seance or get in a group in the dark and light candles and do some kind of rituals, usually satanic or otherwise, and summon or call in a spirit. Tragically, the popular modern versions of the New Age movement were started largely through someone named Madame Blavatsky, Madame Helena Blavatsky, and her secret society, the New Order of the Golden Dawn, and then even worse, Aleister Crowley, who Lisa Renee brought in some of the greatest demon entities into the planet we've ever known. Later in the beginning of the 20th century. And later in the 20th century, individuals would channel spirits. I on this journey to awakening, I read all of the Seth materials, and Jane Roberts, in the early 70s or late 60s, she began playing with the Ouija board with her boyfriend, and then they got married, and she supposedly channeled the biblical Seth, and her husband Rob wrote it all down, and it became a series of books. I read them all, and they even had a group watching for a while. You can find a video of it on YouTube, and I found juicy bits or jewels of spiritual wisdom, interestingly enough, just like my narcissistic predator-possessed friend I used to live with. I learned some jewels of wisdom in the heaping amount of stuff designed to keep me hooked, mixed in with Jane's great storytelling. And, of course, her abilities with suspense. And, of course, the name of the game as far as making money is being compelling, and a lot of these people that were channeling and writing books and doing New Age talks, yes, they want to enlighten you and awaken you and make money. A lot of them want to make money, make a living, and they're amazing artists. Maybe they are channeling, but, when you know about the frequency fence around planet Earth and that the moon matrix, Saturn moon matrix reincarnation death grid is not torn down, it makes one wonder, it's how clear can these beings be, right? So the spirit Seth told her it was okay to go ahead and good to have cigarettes and drink beer in the evening, and then she died of rheumatoid arthritis at age 59, which I would say the spirit of Seth, pretty much caused her early death. I also greatly enjoyed devouring what was called Ezekiel's books, and there's a lot of pure... no, it was Emmanuel's books. I think Ezekiel was another one. I was thinking of Emmanuel's books. Emmanuel. Those were really good. Ezekiel was another one. I think the Lazarus books. It was a trend around the time I was born that kind of fizzled out. There's one man in New York City, Paul Selig, who claims to do it still now. There are very few people around now that claim to channel. Well, there's plenty of them, but they're as far as getting major audiences. And of course, the great Barbara Marciniak's books, the Bringers of the Dawn, and her Earth books, and she supposedly is channeling the Pleiadians, and these books are great. Again, a lot of wonderful spiritual information, and it makes you feel good. But of course, the truth and purity of the messages from the channelers always depends on the filter or the cage or window or the perspective, the inherent dogma or whatever the channeler, the person, believes, or, all their childhood wounds if they haven't cleared out their shadow work, and who has done the 100% of that. So it's going to influence their fears, their perceptional bias is going to, or their control or their need for rent money, for example, is to need to be compelling. It could be influencing this. In other words, their soul's purity is going to greatly influence if this, So, but again, I highly doubt it. There's great signs that even the Law of One books, that this person was channeling some spirit named Ra that wanted to harvest us. Now, why would they say that if it was not trying to tell us the truth? So as the human race has undergone the tragedy of Lucifer or Enki's experiment in creating or dumbing down the divine humans and inserting his own Syrian war god or landlord, as I call it, landlord DNA into us, we've of course suffered from the sad fact they supposedly unplugged 11 strands of our DNA. That, as Castaneda said, in the process they also gave us their mind. So with the frequency fence in place around the Earth and the moon's facilities still operational, I am not convinced of what some of these channelers claim, and some of them do great work, but then they're paid to give you lies or say that, the White Hats have already taken care of it all. You don't have to do anything. Sit back and eat popcorn. I still think radio station 666, the moon matrix reincarnation memory wipe system is, of course, still operational. I'm not convinced, but because there's Decepticons in the disclosure movement, and some of them have the largest audiences, of course, and they're promoted up. So again, this Shamanic Self channel talks about this and tells you their names and everything. So, and that is why I call this the New Cage movement, or we call it the New Cage movement, because, of course, Lucifer, the master mind control technician, is once again hijacked the entire thing, or, sadly, the majority of the ascension, even the idea of ascension, it could be hijacked, because sacred Christ, Mother Christ, is already within us all. Lucifer has once again hijacked this entire thing with his tricks as much as possible, and this has, of course, been through spiritual bypassing, number one, and infiltration by convincing as many as possible through the mainstream media and these super popular gurus and people channeling these divine spirits to force acceptance, through bypassing, through forced acceptance of Satanism, Luciferianism, moral relativity, solipsism even if they're dumb, and ritual blood drinking and killing, because it's okay, because you don't have to look at it, especially narcissistic abuse. That's the biggest problem by constantly repeating the mantra, it's all love and light, fairies and rainbows. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the man behind the curtain. He's only ruining your subconscious mind with my mind control programming. Don't worry about it. It's all good in the hood. What you focus on, what you resist, persist. What you think about is what you get. And don't worry about it. Never do the shadow work. And don't look at the mirror. It's all good. Stephen Greer was paid money by Lawrence Rockefeller in a conference they had. And Lawrence Rockefeller's, he's the only one of the Rockefellers open to talking about it at all. And he told Stephen Greer, you know what, you've got to tell everyone that ETs are all good. And so that's what Stephen Greer does. He charges a bunch of money to go look at ETs in the sky, and he tells them they're all good. Even though they, of course, the secret government has all this technology that would free the human race if we had it. He admits that part, he says, is true. But he says they're all good in the hood. There's no evil ETs. Hologramic cages to watch out for. Okay, these are some of the names they use when the dark side is trying to infiltrate your channeling. They'll say it's the Galactic Federation of Light, Ra, Archangel Michael, Jesus. You know, A Course in Miracles is literally a CIA spiritual bypassing cult itself. William Thetner was in the MK Ultra Mockingbird program before he typed it out and wrote it out while this woman, this Jewish woman in New York City, was supposedly channeling Jesus. Okay, how much more overt can you be than to have that mentioned on his name on Wikipedia? It's not even scrubbed from Wikipedia. Okay, it is a Course in Miracles is a spiritual bypassing cult itself, and I hope all of you in it get out of it if you're in it. Can you see what the normies who knew of the dark side were afraid of? It's tragically accurate. 96% roughly of these people channeling spirits, at least, are channeling some, dark side invaders pretending to be love and light, just like what's going to happen to you, what you're going to encounter after death. It's funny, a long time ago, a decade ago, when I used to go to the free showers at the church, a tweaker named Sean told me, what I like about you, man, is you channel yourself. And I thought that was a cool thing to say. He noticed that the real spirit creator that I feel through my ego, I just let it flow through me in my behavior. So always go by how the channel, when you're watching someone channeling on a video or reading their books, always go by how it makes you feel and absorb the good information and disregard the rest. If it causes you harm, reject it, if at all possible. This idea came from watching one of my favorite channelers who actually began the disclosure movement, where they admitted it. He was the first one to admit it, being that he was channeling another ET race. I'm not going to even say his name in this video. But his last name, to give you a clue, his last name that he wants to be called publicly, his public name that he gives himself, actually has liar in it. Is this an overt joke? Because he is a great oneness conscious, sacred clown storyteller, or, and Jewish? Or is he really an ET or traveling there telepathically, as he says? Remote viewing all the way to that other star system, as he claims. And I love this man's, a lot of his stuff he says is beautiful, and it's needed to be said. So he thought maybe he could protect his wife and children and himself from being gotten shot by claiming it to be ETs, when he started saying these things 25 years ago. Although all of this can be terribly dangerous, I feel he has a great and not so good part for his information. The new cage is looking outside of yourself to someone else. You don't believe in the mainstream media. You don't believe that Jesus Christ or Quetzalcoatl are going to save you, but you still think these people are channeling these divine beings are not going to tell you anything inaccurate. And the inaccuracy is that cul-de-sac that gets you stuck before enlightenment. That's the new cage. You're driving around in circles because you believe these ET liars that they're channeling. You're giving away your power to the external source. Again, not trusting yourself, the Christ within. Information, just like all of them, including Lisa Renee. Okay. Neil Donald Walsh wrote that he was channeling God in his book, Conversations with God. What about channeling your own higher self? It can't sell books and get 6,000 views in a day on YouTube. Love you, fam.